So this video is about what is happening to South Sudanese in Egypt. We've seen young people being stopped and abused. We've seen young people being abducted, taken to homes and being told to strip, not only by teenagers but even by mothers. We've seen also young people being attacked in their apartments in Egypt, and you can see the pictures. And in 2018, we heard of a South Sudanese teacher being, he was beaten to death by an Egyptian man. So this is happening in Egypt. It's not only in Egypt; it's also in the rest of the Middle East. We've seen in Saudi Arabia, in other Gulf countries, where domestic workers are being abused by the employers. So, and people appeal to authorities. The Egyptian government, even the president al-Sisi, spoke out against this. We've seen the embassy, Egyptian embassy in South Sudan responding. But it keeps on happening. Even after the response of the embassy, South Sudanese were attacked in their homes, beaten savagely. So how do you deal with this? I understand, and from experience and from even the human nature and even human culture, not all Egyptians are this savage. They are not this barbaric. They are not this animalistic. It's not all Egyptians, because they're good Egyptians. Even the young man who said he was abducted with his sisters and taken to a home and molested with his sisters told to strip. He told one of the news people, reporter, that there was another Egyptian who tried to help them, but he was intimidated. They threatened to kill them. So this is something that is tragic, and I think appeals will not. I don't think they will help unless the government puts down a law that severely punishes people. Because the Egyptian man who killed a South Sudanese in 2018 was only given, I think, about 6 years in prison. So the government has to be really strict on this if it has to solve this. The South Sudanese government, I'm not sure. The only thing they can do is to shut down the embassy, because you have to take a stand on this to pressure the Egyptian government to really track down this or tackle this. If you cannot do that, then it's just like you don't care about your own people. But to the Egyptians, what I would say is, the Egyptians who do this, they're basically acting like an animal. What makes you different from an animal if all you do is stop someone in the streets and insult them because of the appearance? What makes you different with an animal if you attack people in their homes and beat them up and knife them? There's basically no difference. So this happens a lot in North Africa, in the Middle East, and it makes you wonder. These are people who call themselves civilized. And to be fair to the Arabs, this happened to Africans all over the world. Whether you go to China, you go to India, you go to Russia, it happens all the time. So it makes you wonder. These are the people who call themselves civilized, because civilization is seen as, the technological advances in science, the art of writing, art and things like that. These are seen as the civilization, because Africans are seen as either they don't have this or they've been left behind by the rest of the world, so they're not civilized. They did not, before colonization, they did not have this advanced civilization. This is just a silly ways of looking at civilizations. But at the end of the day, these are things anyone can learn. These are things anyone can learn. If you look at Western Europe in the 16th century and look at it now, it's a question of development, it's a question of learning. And Western Europe did not just learn these things, or things just grew out of Western Europe without learning from other places. Countries learn from one another. So the idea, this is really tragic, and what I think we shouldn't do is feeling sorry for ourselves. Because we're not dealing with people, we're dealing with animals. Because anyone who does this is basically saying they're not human beings, they're not civilized like the rest. So, and that's why it's difficult. That's why it's difficult to appeal to these people, and that's why it keeps on happening. We can resort to this nonsensical, political or realpolitik and talk about this is how things are done. So this is, human beings are like that. Human nature, sort of Hobbesian human nature. Well, it's nonsensical. Because the idea of being civilized is to move away from the way, animals behave. Because if you behave like animals, then what's our difference? So we don't feel sorry for yourself when these things happen. We just look at it the way it is. We're not dealing with people. We're dealing with animals. And I appeal to Egyptians. I'm not even appealing. I'm challenging Egyptians. Separate yourself from these animals. You rose up against one of the long-time brutal dictator, and you helped this person go as people with no guns. So what is this savages amongst you who kill people because of their appearance, who beat up people because of their appearance? So if you don't deal with these animals, they will keep on reflecting Egyptians as basically animals. Look at the pictures. Look at what they do with these school kids going to school. Look at these news reporters, and I'll put a link here of young people, young kids, talking like this about how they are treated in Egypt. So I'm challenging you as Egyptians to separate yourselves from animals and let these people who left their homes in search of refuge live in peace. As your president said, these are our guests. And as he said, these are our guests, and this is how you treat guests. No. Stop this animalism.